Hello, everybody. Just before we get started tonight, I would love if you guys that are in front of your computers that are able, if you don't mind just typing into the chat box that you can hear us, make sure that audio is good before we get started. We'll give everybody a couple more minutes to finish logging in, but for those of you that are here, if you don't mind submitting some kind of chat, perfect. I can see some people are responding, which is great, so thank you. We'll go ahead and get started in a minute or so. Thanks. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for attending here. Tonight we are going to cover our San Antonio presentation. This is always an exciting market to talk about, and tonight is no exception. So I'm going to be covering a brief intro on the company, and then you're going to be hearing from our top San Antonio agent, Josh Gutierrez, who I'm going to introduce shortly. We see San Antonio as a pillar of consistency. San Antonio has been an excellent market for growth and development, and the forecast for that to continue. The forecast is for that to continue through 2023. My name is Vince Tomich. I am an advisor and realtor here at Marshall Reddick Real Estate. I work out of our Newport Beach office in California. I was born and raised here in Southern California and have been in the real estate industry now for over 7 years. I'm an investment property owner myself and definitely plan on continuing to grow my portfolio, especially through this time. I actually bought a property in Texas recently, so I'm a little bit biased to this market myself. Worked very closely with the team in Texas, personally, as well as, as colleagues. So it's been a great experience thus far. My primary role as an advisor is to learn as much as I can about each individual investor and help facilitate clients through the investment process. So there are many steps in the home buying process, and I'm here to assist from our first call all the way to post-closing. There are a number of team members from agents, lenders, property management, and I help make those connections and field any questions along the way. For those of you that may not be as familiar with our company, I know there's many of you that have attended past events and webinars, but for those of you that are new, I'd just like to quickly cover who Marshall Reddick is and what we do. So Marshall Reddick is a full service real estate firm, and we have 4 primary services. We have our real estate brokerage, our property management, and our private lending, as well as our mortgage fund. So for our real estate brokerage, we help people buy and sell real estate, whether it's a primary resident or investment property. For property management, 99% of the folks that end up buying an investment property are going to need property management. So we handle everything from A to Z, from marketing the property to screening tenants, rent collection, rent disbursement, any kind of maintenance request. We would handle all of that on the owner's behalf so that, owners can focus on whatever, their day-to-day and don't have to worry about, managing their portfolio. Our third service is private lending, which is a very unique part of our business. There's actually 2 clients that consist in private lending. There are borrowers, and then there are lenders. So to give you an example of people who borrow money from us, these are people who do fix and flips on, properties, investment properties. We also have people that have self-directed retirement accounts, maybe those that want to acquire property in those self-directed retirement accounts. That would be another example of individuals that borrow from us, right? So we're definitely different from your conventional lender. in that we don't have, the same guidelines, but we do offer a lot more flexibility. On the flip side too, instead of borrowing, the other side of our business is lenders. So the same way that you can invest in real estate and collect, rent checks, we give you the opportunity to invest in mortgage payments and collect mortgage payments. So as far as our fourth category, which is our mortgage fund, this is actually a part of our business where we have pooled investments. So all of the borrowers that borrow money from us, we have a fund in which we collect, contributions from multiple investors, and we're able to lend that money on behalf of Marshall Reddick, and we give our fund investors a quarterly distribution where they can, invest money very passively and collect, distributions for as long as they would like. Ultimately, my goal is to make the process of investing as seamless as possible by educating and working with our key partners to ensure a successful transaction. So our markets, we are located in 16 different markets across the country. And tonight we're going to be focusing our presentation on Texas, but I did want to highlight, you're going to see the markets here that are highlighted in green. This is where Marshall Reddick has a physical presence, right? So we either have agents or our property management staff, boots on the ground to help with, services here. The areas or the cities that you don't see highlighted, these are areas that we will do transactions, and we have, trusted third-party referrals that we use, but ultimately, most of the business that we're doing does consist of the cities here that you see in the highlighted green boxes. So some may be asking, why these markets? How did you guys come up with these markets? So, we have taken the time to vet out specific markets that we want to focus on. I think we can all agree that not every market across the US is a good market to invest in. So we have put together some key criteria that we feel support a strong investment market, which includes a strong job market. We're looking for strong rental demand, economic diversity, housing affordability, strong education, and then last but definitely not least, reliable property management. These are all imperative to having, in our opinion, a successful real estate property, or a real estate market. So all of our markets that we have, put our efforts into do support these, these criteria here. Before I go on any further, I do want to introduce to you guys Josh Gutierrez, who is our top San Antonio agent. He's a wealth of knowledge, born and raised in San Antonio, and is going to be a great resource for us and for you individuals that are looking to explore Texas. So Josh, I'll go ahead and give it to you.
Thank you, Vince. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join our webinar tonight. We know that everyone is busy, and taking the time to invest in your financial freedom, I know it's a huge step. It's very important to us, and I'm sure it's very important to you. So we're going to try to share as much knowledge tonight on the San Antonio market and surrounding areas to help you guys achieve that goal in the future. I am a realtor in San Antonio. I'm also a real estate advisor for Marshall Reddick. I've worked in the mortgage industry since 2003. Primarily, I spent a lot of my career at Wells Fargo Bank. So I've always had a sort of a California background, which Marshall Reddick is also based out of California, Newport Beach. So I think we kind of hit it off when I came in 2017. My last few years there, I was in management, and I was handling a lot of the foreclosures back in the fall of 2008. I do a little bit of everything: buying, selling, leasing, property management. A lot of people will tell you I'm kind of a hybrid in the company. I have my hand in a lot of things, but I enjoy what I do, so I kind of love having a little bit of a hand in a lot of the things, wear a lot of hats. But my passion is helping investors find turnkey real estate property. That is my goal. That is what I do every day. Bilingual, speak and read fluently, both English and Spanish. I am primarily from a Spanish background, a Mexican household. The last one, I don't like to, I'm not the best at patting myself on the back, but looking at that, that's pretty good. And the reason I share that with everyone is because I like for people to know that I've rented properties. I started leasing properties. That was my primary job when I started with Marshall Reddick. So when we're talking about rents, vacancy times, I'm pretty spot on, and I can, pretty much tell you what a rent's going to be and how long it's going to be on the market. And I'm pretty confident when I share that information with you guys. So this is our amazing property management team here in San Antonio. I am truly honored to work with a lot of these folks here. This is leasing agents. These are tenant coordinators. These are property managers. This whole team right here is what makes the machine move forward. This is what helps you guys achieve financial freedom. These guys are also licensed realtors as well. It doesn't matter if you're out in the field or if you're in the office. That is one of the requirements of our employees. So these guys know the growing pains of investing, because most of them are investors as well, whether they're in the mortgage fund, like Vince said earlier, or investing into fix or flips, buying rental property. These guys know exactly what that feels like. So when you're talking to the Marshall Reddick team, just know that you're having a team that knows exactly what you're going through from 1,500 miles away or so if you're in California or in another state. Just to give you a little bit of background, if you want to do some research on our agents, we have some really good agents in our company, some real go-getters, some really hard-working agents. Go to our Marshall Reddick page on Zillow, and you'll see some good reviews. You see some testimonials. These guys are great. I mean, it tells you right there, 43 years of experience. These guys do a great job in finding you amazing investment property. So this here is kind of giving you a picture of what we're doing here in the Central Texas market. And this is just a snapshot. It's not giving you all the way up to Austin, because Austin is considered Central Texas, but we have 1,300 units and growing. In 2017, I was one of the first four agents, first four quote unquote employees of Marshall Reddick, and we started with 4 properties. In 4 years, we have grown to 1,300 properties, and that's a testament to a lot of you guys here in this webinar. You guys have trusted our process. Our process has proven to be very successful, and now you can see the growth. How many of these investors have chosen us to manage their property and buy through us? So this here gives you a little bit of a snapshot of what it looks like when people believe in a process and a system. Just a little bit of information on Texas. Second highest population state in the US, 29 mil. I did not know that. I actually thought it was less, but it's no surprise, right? I mean, with the migration, job migration, especially during COVID, a lot of people have moved out here. You probably know someone that's moved out here and they were part of this. Landlord-friendly state. A lot of investors move their portfolio. They do 1031 exchanges and move out here because Texas is a landlord-friendly state. It protects the landlord. A lot of the laws are here to protect the landlord, which is another benefit of investing in San Antonio. Lowest market default rate through COVID in MR. So what we're saying there is, as a whole, when we're looking from all of our footprint, our portfolio had the lowest default rate, which, during the pandemic, during COVID, we really didn't stop. The machine was still going. People were still working. People were still making moves, so that was a testament to the low default rate because people were still working. They never really stopped. Minimal disaster zone. So San Antonio, if you look at it on a map, it's more centralized. We call it the heart of Texas. So it puts it away from, hurricanes, um, no earthquakes. You really are not going to experience a lag in natural disasters. And that's why you have a lot of job migration coming here into San Antonio. You still have relatively cheap employment. You have a lot of land, right, to set up your hubs for your companies. A lot of these Fortune 500 companies are moving out here because there's available land and it's cheap. So they're setting up out here because they won't experience any lag in service for their company. Diversified workforce. I mean, man, and it's growing, you guys. It's getting a lot bigger. Military, government, tech, corporate, industrial, medical. I mean, even the one that's not mentioned on here, tourism. Tourism has been huge in San Antonio. But there's all kinds of revenue streams, right, that you can make money here. Austin, Round Rock. Yeah, this is just giving a little more insight into the migration, right, that's happened between 2010 and 2019. And you can see the growth, right? I mean, and I'm sure this has changed within the last year for sure. One of the hot areas that a lot of investors were looking into in the last year, even currently right now, is New Braunfels, San Antonio. Huge growth. I mean, if you're looking to invest in San Antonio, if you're looking to invest in Central Texas, it's almost synonymous. That's why we put it together. San Antonio, New Braunfels, people are looking into these areas all the time just because of the amount of people that are flocking to this area. So we like to touch on, the prices of single family homes in the areas, so that way you can get an idea, comparing these regions, these markets, so that way you can see, oh, okay, that's why it makes sense still to invest, right? Because you're still getting some good cash flow, some rent coverage when you're looking into a single family home. And we'll touch on multifamilies here in a bit. So San Antonio average 339K, Austin 642K, almost double, which is kind of crazy. I thought Dallas would definitely be more, but you can see that San Antonio is actually growing and outpacing Dallas. A lot of people thought Houston would have more prices, but the thing with Houston is a lot of people are moving on the outskirts of the metro area. So that's where you see some bigger prices. But when we're talking about the metro, it's 272K. Now, in our title header, we were touching on Tesla, and we were talking earlier about job migration. Well, it's happening, and it's happening with these giants, right? A lot of people have heard Facebook, it's in Austin. Tesla is in Austin. Well, what people don't know is that Tesla is not only just setting a footprint in Austin, but it's setting it in the whole Central Texas region. You got to remember what we were talking about, 29 million people in Texas, right? The second most populous state in our nation. Elon Musk is pretty smart. If you're going to start a company and you're going to push your product, you go to one of the bigger states, right? So they're here in San Antonio. They just became the biggest leaser in San Antonio. They just leased a 439,000 square foot industrial park on the far northeast side of town. That's huge. And the reason I say that's huge is because the corridor that it sits in, it sits right next to two duplex communities we're going to be talking about. Also, they're not just setting up, a warehouse, because that's what that is. That 439,000 square foot warehouse is for their batteries, but they're also setting up service, like repair hubs and new dealerships and service centers all around the northeast side of town. And we're going to touch on a little of these things as we're moving along, and we'll point them out on a map for you guys so you can get an idea of where these are situated. There's also a link down there at the bottom of this page. On this link, you can see exactly what we're talking about and when it was printed out. I think it was back in October, but it'll give you more detail on these bullet points here. So obviously, a lot of people outside of the state, when they talk about Texas, they think, oh, well, Austin is the bigger city. Austin gets all the great. I mean, I'm jealous. A lot of the times when I want to go see a good concert, I have to go to Austin. It's funny. The big headers don't come down here. They go to Austin. Why? Because it's more of a happening town. San Antonio is really like all about families. Austin, you're gonna get the college town, right? That's really what we look at it here as locals. But for that reason, right, you also have the lowest cost index in the metro area, right? Here in Texas. You have a lot of government military veterans in our city. At any given time, right, you can have anywhere between 85,000 to 100,000 service members walking the streets of San Antonio. Okay, what does that mean for you? What that means is there's an influx, right, all the time of good tenants, good paying tenants, right? If you're looking to buy rental property, because a lot of the times they're looking to stay here anywhere from 3 to 5 years, and that's because a lot of the schools, a lot of the pilots that are coming in here for school for training, a lot of the medical students that are here for the military, they're staying here for about 3 years, 4 years, right? So that's very important that we have that good pool of tenants in the military family. All these service members are great tenants. Our tax rates, if you're comparing, a lot of people will grumble, right? Investors, when they look at it and they say, oh, you guys have crazy property taxes. Well, if you compare it to other cities in Texas, we're not too bad, right? Average is about 2.3, 2.4%. But you'll notice that in some of our duplex communities we're going to talk about, it's 2.2%, which is even lower than the average. And we can talk about appreciation. I mean, everyone knows San Antonio used to be a gem, right? A hidden gem, but people are starting to find out San Antonio is a great place to invest. Why? Because it's had a steady appreciation. Even during the 2008 crash, I mean, we felt a blip, right? I mean, there's graphs that'll show you this. But the steady appreciation in our market has always been solid. It's always been between 3.5% to 5%. Obviously, I'm not going to count the last 2 years because that was an anomaly. That boom was anywhere between 10 to 12% in some places. But obviously, that's not normal. But the average has been 3.5% in a normal market. And again, the Central Texas area is what we call disaster resistant, just because it's too far inland to experience a lot of the major natural disasters that happen, like in Houston or Florida, when they get hurricanes and stuff like that. So here's more detail about what we're talking about, how values have increased in the San Antonio area, 19.4% over the last year. Over the past 5 years, home values in San Antonio have increased by nearly 67%. So I remember looking at listings and thinking, man, 240,000, man, that's kind of wild. Which, out-of-state investors look at it and like, man, that's pretty dang cheap, But even then, even with the boom that we experienced, we're still relatively reasonably priced. I know that in San Antonio right now it's about 337,000 average right now. And that was just information that I looked at a couple days ago. So it's remaining pretty steady. You can get a good single family home. I mean, you can find new builds, single family residences in San Antonio right now with incentives at about 260, 270. And that's about a 1,400 square foot home, which is not a bad deal. Rents, I mean, if you look at it nationally, if you look it up, if you Google it, rents all across the nation went up. In some places, rents have gone up, 25 to 30%, right? But here in San Antonio, our median rent is about $1,850, okay? And rents have increased 12% year over year. A lot of the times when you're looking at numbers, right, you're looking at them as of today. But just know that San Antonio, even if we weren't to hit the 12% next year, let's say something happens, it's very reasonable to say, hey, I'm gonna at least hit the 6%, because you can. We're still relatively priced low, and there's still a lot of meat left on the bone for appreciation. There's still a lot of wage increase left in our metro area. So we're usually about 3 to 5 years behind Austin's trend. So if you're buying now, you can pretty much count on some serious appreciation coming down the pipeline, because we're 3 to 5 years behind Austin's trend.
Awesome, Josh. That's great info. Just to kind of piggyback on what Josh was saying here, what I wanted to point out, this is our, this is a section that you'll see in any of our pro formas, and it just kind of gives the, appreciation trend over the years, and it also highlights the property classes. We have an amazing ebook that's on our website that I can send to any of you folks that kind of goes into more detail regarding the property classes, but I did want to quickly cover, the difference between luxury all the way to D class. So the way that we associate a property class to a property is based on the median home price. The median home price is derived from the National Association of Realtors, which we have a link to show you where it's called a Metropolitan Statistical Area, or an MSA, where the MSA for that area is and that median home price associated with it. So for example, the median home price associated with San Antonio represents that 100% mark. So you'll see that 100% mark is 291,200. So basically any property from 291,200 to that 130% mark, which would be 378,560, that would be considered an A-class property for a single family home. Anything above 378 is considered luxury, and then you can see the brackets below as it goes. Anything below 291 to 232, B, so on and so forth. And the reason we highlight that, or the reason that's so important, is it helps set proper expectations regarding appreciation and cash flow. It also sets proper expectations regarding maintenance and vacancy. So typically the higher the property class, the more appreciation that comes with that. Now, you oftentimes forfeit a bit of cash flow as you go higher on the appreciation side, and then vice versa. As you start to target properties that are more C class, you'll start to see more cash flow because it's a lower price point and rents are relatively in a similar range. So therefore, you're going to collect more rent there. Now, in those scenarios, you tend to see those properties, though, appreciate a little bit slower. They're in probably not as affluent neighborhoods. There's not as much sales activity. There's not as much upkeep in the community. So therefore, they don't sell for quite the premium an A-class or a luxury property would. We typically operate in the luxury market to C class, right? And the way I kind of remember this is A-class properties equal appreciation, C-class properties equal cash flow, and B-class properties a little bit of blend of both. So that's kind of a helpful way to remember that. And then just below, you'll see that scale that also associates per unit if we're looking at multifamily. So, for example, if, that 100% mark, or that 90% mark, if you were to double that, that would be, for a duplex, that would be more of the price point for a A-class or luxury. Okay, I wanted to piggyback on what Josh was saying in terms of appreciation. So from 1997 to 2001, you'll see on the right-hand side of your screen there, you'll see there's been just steady appreciation year over year. And that's one of the highlights that I would say of San Antonio. Up until 2021, you don't see a year with double-digit appreciation or double-digit depreciation. And that even goes to the area, 2008, 2009, and 2010, which were, in some parts of the country, just absolute devastating years. So to see that San Antonio stayed pretty firm throughout that is just sound proof of its resiliency and its ability to just stay consistent. So that's definitely something we like to highlight. Also, you'll see this trend line here in the top left part of the screen where, you know, the appreciation trend is kind of just humming along at that 4.77, and then the median price is just kind of hovering right on that, a little below, a little above, and it just stays right with it. So this is always just a good slide to show, and just kind of the strength and of how San Antonio has performed over a long period of time. For those of you that are looking for more data, right, Josh is going to go over a lot of this demographics and data that, you know, we've seen so far in the presentation. Again, we're happy to get on consultation calls, and that's, you know, definitely part of our job is to make sure that we're answering all the questions. But for those of you that do like to do some of the research on your own or want to get into the data a little deeper, we do have free data packets. These are for all of the markets we operate in, and they're updated annually just to make sure we're up to date on all of the new trends and statistics and things that are going on in the market. So feel free to, you know, take a look at one of these. You'll be able to find these easily on our website at the link below, or in any market you're looking at. If you're looking at a pro forma, there is definitely a way to click and to review this more, and I'm happy to send it to anyone directly if you are having trouble finding it. So wanted to highlight that as well. Now we're gonna kick it back to Josh. We want to go over a few properties. We're really excited about a few specific communities. Josh helps individuals find single families to larger multifamilies and everything in between, right? He even helps quite a bit of local families find primaries. So you know, we're going to kind of target some of our, I guess, some of our more exclusive in multifamily that we're seeing become really successful for our clients. So Josh, I'll let you kind of dive in, and I'll jump in wherever I can for you.
Thank you, Vince. Yeah, we want to talk about the good stuff. We want to talk about these properties. Take one step back here. So we're going to talk about two duplex communities. Duplex communities, right? That we have a good partnership with the builder. We have worked with this builder, you know, over 10 years. Very reputable builder. A lot of the product that we have with the builder in this community of Jordan Creek duplexes and Sydney Cove is turnkey rental property. Now, what do I mean? A lot of people throw out that phrase, turnkey rental property, and then you buy the home and then you still got to do stuff to it. Well, not with these duplexes. The builder, just to give you a little bit of background, I like to always share this because this is going to help you when you make a decision on should I buy this or should I buy that. The builder started off as an investor himself. When he moved to San Antonio years back, he lived in a fourplex with his wife and son, and he saw a lot being built out in front of him, and he said, you know what, I can probably do that. So when he built his first duplex on his own, and that's how he started his business. That gave him a lot of background onto what's needed, what's expected, right? Because when he started to realize, man, I still need to do all these other little things, and I still need to change all these things every time a renter comes in and out. So now he's kind of perfected it. We're glad to be in partnership with this guy because he's got it figured out. And that's what makes a lot of these rental properties very, very successful for rent and for cash flow and appreciation. So as you're looking at this Jordan Creek duplex right here, this is situated in a town called Seguin. And a lot of you probably have never heard of Seguin. And you're probably asking yourself, well, where is Seguin? I thought it was Seguin, right? A lot of people call it Seguin, but it's Seguin. And as you can see here, Jordan Creek is about 40 minutes northeast of San Antonio. Okay, so here's Seguin, and here's Jordan Creek. I like to point out that Jordan Creek is a little north right? Northwest going towards New Braunfels. I wish I had New Braunfels in here because this highway right here, 46, connects Seguin and New Braunfels. Imagine this like I'd say a miniature Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, like in a baby form. These two are bleeding into each other. You can't even tell when you're in Seguin or when you're in New Braunfels. That's how much growth there is here. A lot of the times when I have investors visit me and they come and check out these duplexes, we drive down this highway and all you see is what we call sticks, bunch of development, bunch of houses going up. And you'll see that all the growth is because these two towns are just feeding off of each other. Two things I want to point out. This is Highway 35. If you were to follow Highway 35 from Mexico and shoot north, you'll go all the way to Canada. Okay, so this is a major corridor. Now, on the other end, this is I-10. Everyone knows that if you go I-10 from left to right or right to left, you're going to go from California to Florida and vice versa. Another major corridor. So these two corridors, they're sitting right in the middle. If you want to import goods to Houston, you got to ride the I-10 highway. Oh, maybe that's why it makes sense to have a Tesla warehouse, huh? Right on this corridor. Pretty smart. So a lot of the employees from here are living in this general area, right? Because this has always been generally a blue collar professional corridor. You know, you got a lot of electricians, plumbers, big rig drivers, CNC machinists, warehouse professionals, all in this area. As you can see, there's a lot of land and it's flat. You have a lot of housing here. You have a lot of warehouses and hubs all situated through this corridor. Okay. So 20 minutes to New Braunfels, 40 minutes. So if you go from Seguin to New Braunfels, this stretch right here is 20 minutes. And this is soon going to be a 4-laner. Right now it's a 2-laner and it's nuts, but it's going to grow. 60 minutes from Austin. So if you were to go from Seguin up into Austin, 35 north or I-10 north, I-10 east, I'm sorry, you'll get to Austin. And then you can see pretty much where these service centers, Tesla, where they're all set up. We'll talk about Sydney Cove here in a bit. So Jordan Creek has roughly about 105 duplexes in this community. We're about 85% complete. So I can tell you that this whole square right here, if I was to cut this square off, this is all built out. And we're about right here as far as like halfway on Grayson Street. I know you can't see it, and I can send you a better plat map once we get to talking one-on-one. But all that's left to complete is this front area of the community. All these properties, as we're closing them, it's taking us about 30 to 35 days to lease out. And all these, we manage, I'd say about 95% of the community. Why is that important? Why am I calling that out? So the builder knows that, and he has learned, when you have one management company running the show, helping you push your product, it's a lot cleaner. You have a lot more control over the rents, right? Because there's no rent control in Texas. That doesn't exist. But if you have a management company that has a tight leasing team and that is focusing on getting the right rents that we promised you, guess what? They're going to cash flow, they're going to perform. And that's why we're in the community with this builder. When you have 5 different management companies with 5 different signs down the same street, that just looks terrible, right? And then you have rent wars because one management company is telling their buyer, hey, I'm sorry I can't get it leased, right? Because I only have like one agent in the whole area. And then the other management company is telling them, oh, well, you know what? We just got to get desperate and we just got to put a body in there. Let's rent it for 1,400. That doesn't happen in our communities because we manage the majority of the community, and a lot of the other management companies, the onesie twosies, they follow suit with us. And they usually call us and ask us to rent it for them, which is funny. But nonetheless, this is just a snapshot of what this looks like here in Jordan Creek. A little bit about Seguin. I mean, it's a growing town. I mean, literally, it's booming. So what's happening here is there's a lot of space to set up a lot of infrastructure, a lot of hubs for big employers, big companies. So they're moving out there because they see, okay, there's a lot of room for growth. Land is cheap. Let's just go set up over there. So what you have is like Toyota's transmission plant is out there. Essentially job migration is what's happening. You have Cisco Communications, you have Caterpillar, the construction company, their hub is there too. You have a lot of oil and gas equipment operators, equipment manufacturers that supply the equipment to all the fracking that's going down in the south. And also, Seguin has a Seguin Regional Hospital, which actually services that whole south region. So you have a lot of medical staff that's in Jordan Creek that live there as tenants. Right now, the city population, I think, is at about 32 to 33,000, and then by 2030, they're saying it'll be at 40K. By 2040, it'll be at 50K. I honestly think they're kind of shooting low. I think it'll be more, just from what I've seen, because people that are living in New Braunfels are also moving to Seguin because they see, hey, it's cheaper. I can still buy land right there. I can still commute to Seguin in 20 minutes and still work over there. I mean, New Braunfels. So there's a lot of movement happening right now. And like I said, off the 46 corridor, you're seeing a lot of new homes go up. A lot of single family residences go up. 7,500 or more permits have been submitted to the city of Seguin for development. And I'm talking like your heavy hitters, right? Like D.R. Horton, KB Homes, Lennar. All these guys are in there because they see the job migration happening, the growth happening. So they got to supply housing to all these people that are moving there. Cost of living is relatively cheap. I love it. Anytime I go to Jordan Creek, I always have a good excuse to get really good, cheap food. And everything's, you know, relatively close in proximity. I mean, if you look at it from a bird's eye view on Google Maps, you're probably looking at it like, Josh, all I see is green. But trust me, there's a lot of people there. Let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so that was just a little bit about Seguin. Now let me tell you about the Jordan Creek duplexes and the numbers here, okay? This is what they look like. What I love about them is that the front, there's no grass, okay? It's all xeriscaped, right? A lot of these details went into making it a very sound investment, so that way you don't have to worry about your tenant not taking care of grass, right? Anytime you drive down the community, it's always going to look the same. Why? Because no one's not attending to their grass. It's not there. It's HOA managed, okay? So they're going to make sure, and it's, I know when I say HOA, a lot of people kind of like cringe, right? And they're thinking, man, HOA, heck no. But our HOA is $895 for the year for the building. It ends up being around $70 to $75 per month, right? It's not like the California HOAs. I've heard about those. We don't want to talk about those. But here's some numbers. Now, this is looking at it from a, Vince, is this looking at it from a ARM?
No, so I'm glad you brought that up. So, guys, just so you know, there's multiple ways to finance a property. But you know, these first two scenarios that we're going to show you are going to be 30-year fixed scenarios. And some of you that have a really good pulse on interest rates will notice that this interest rate is much lower than what can be attained by an investment property purchase that's just on the open market. So I can go into more detail, but essentially this is in correlation to working with our preferred lender. There's some credits involved in this to get the rate where it is, but this is a 30-year fixed scenario that you guys are looking at here.
Okay, thank you, Vince. So basically here, what we're looking at, this is at 489K, 30-year fixed. What you're looking at right now, as far as rents are concerned in the area, is 1550, 1595 rent range. Okay, and that's just because of the time of the year right now. But we do have the majority of our duplexes leased in the 1650 range right now. That's because it was when we started closing properties was in the summer, and obviously summer's peak time, summer's high rent peak, market, and that's why we were getting the 1600 range. We're slowly creeping back into that, obviously, because we're coming out of the winter months. But right now we're getting 1550, no problem. And like I said, it's a 30 to 35 day vacancy that we're looking at. And this is at a 30-year fixed. I'd say rate. What rate are we looking here, Vince?
So the mortgage rate is going to be a 5.875.
Oh, that's right. It's right in front of me. Sorry. It's at a 5.875. There's a lot of options, you guys. We're just giving you like the more conventional setup. With Reed Hazard in CMG, which we have worked with, he's our preferred lender. And being that he's the preferred lender, the builder, if you use CMG, will give you 2% to go towards your buy down on the rate, or you can use that towards closing costs. Okay. And just I'm gonna put this out there because I'm gonna talk about it a lot. Not only do you get the 2% as a incentive, you also get 1 year of free property management from Marshall Reddick and the builder. So that's about a $2,800 to $3,000 savings, right? Just for taking the 1 year of management for free. And we're doing all this so that the investor can start off on the right foot, right? So they have a little bit more peace of mind. And that way we can start working those numbers to work in your benefit. Before we move on to the next slide, I'm gonna call out a couple things. All of the duplexes are 3-bedroom, 2-bath minimum. They're gonna be average about 1,350 square feet each side, right? And they're 3-bedroom, 2-bath setups. The reason we do 3-bedroom, 2-bath setups with this builder is because we have found that most of the people that are moving into this are, couples with a couple kids or family setups. Most of the times, they're not looking for anything smaller than that. Especially with what just happened in the last 2 years with COVID, a lot of people are working from home. A lot of people are schooling from home. So having those extra bedrooms is always a plus. So we have 1-stories and 2-story setups in Jordan Creek. A lot of people ask me, Josh, what would you pick? What is your preference, or does it matter? And honestly, it's just preference. A lot of younger couples like the 2-story setup because the bedrooms upstairs have a Jack and Jill setup for their kids. I've seen a lot of people say, hey, I don't want to deal with stairs, so they will use the 1-story, right? Because it's a shotgun setup. But there's really no difference in size. It's maybe 20 square feet, 20 to 30 square feet difference. They're both 3 bedrooms, 2-bath. It's just preference. And they both rent about the same, 1550, 1595 is what we're looking at as we're moving into February, March. And similar numbers to the right. I'm going to take one step back because I'm going to call out a couple things on the Jordan Creek duplexes. So a lot of times people ask me, Josh, what's included in the duplex? Like, do I have to buy ceiling fans? No. Do I have to buy appliances? No, they're all included. If you read the little blurb down here at the bottom, it includes a refrigerator, dishwasher, range, microwave. You get by default as a standard feature 42-inch upper kitchen cabinets. You get a patio, right, which is unheard of. I mean, if you go buy a Lennar home, they're going to charge you another 7 to 10K just to add a stoop, right? But you get full sod and a sprinkler system, 10-year builder warranty, right? So all these things are included as a standard feature. These are not upgrades. These are coming with it. Also, you get a garage door opener as well for your tenants. You can also, I know we have the $8,000 lot premium. That's gone. There's no more lot premiums right now. Lots of good stuff happening in Jordan Creek. Now let's talk about Sydney Cove duplexes in Schertz, Texas. A lot of people have never heard of Schertz, Texas. A lot of us here locals call it Schertz Cibolo, okay? Because it's two little towns that are just like joined together on the north side of San Antonio. These are what they look like. The elevations are definitely different, a little nicer, right? You have the limestone to give it a little bit of touch on the elevation, but still, interiors, what you get, stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, very nice fixtures for a rental unit. Now, a lot of people ask me, so what's the difference? What's going on in Schertz Cibolo? Well, here's the thing. It's right off of the main corridor off 35, okay? So if you want to go from San Antonio to New Braunfels, you got to go through Schertz Cibolo, okay? If you want to go from San Antonio to Austin, you got to go through Schertz Cibolo. This is an area right here. This is Randolph Air Force Base, okay? Right here where I'm hovering over. Look how close this is to the Air Force Base. You got a lot of military service members looking in this area because they want to be close to the Air Force Base when they move. Now, the awesome thing about the Sydney Cove duplexes, the rental vacancy is solid. It's anywhere from 7 to 14 days. And I'm going to tell you why. It's just because of where it sits, and it's right dead smack in the middle between New Braunfels and San Antonio. So you see 20 minutes to New Braunfels, 25 minutes to San Antonio, okay, 60 minutes to Austin. But I'm going to show you one detail here in this next slide. I probably should have added that slide next. I'll come back to this plat map, but I want to share this. Here's the cost of living, right? Population is roughly 42,000, right? Just in that area of Schertz Cibolo. Median household income is 84,000, okay? And obviously because it's so close to San Antonio, practically the same median home price as San Antonio, 338,000, okay? The appreciation average is pretty much what we were talking about for San Antonio as well, 4.76 since 2000. Now, this is what I want you guys to look at. You see single family, you see apartments, but townhomes is 0.3%. Townhomes in our area, we consider like duplexes, fourplexes, okay? This is an untapped market in that 78108 zip code, which is Schertz Cibolo. Now, what does that mean for you guys? That means that either if you want to live in Schertz Cibolo, you're either going to live in a single family home or an apartment complex. There's no other duplex product in the zip code. And that's why the vacancy is so low. And that's why they get rented so quick. We're about, now I'm going to go back to the plat map so I can show you. So 219, we got 4 buildings that are already built, fully leased. That's why we have the data. These lots here in green, we've started construction. We're halfway through these bad boys. We've already got permits to move on down. What I love about this community, you guys, is that it's very private. You're only going to have 27 duplexes in this whole, well, actually 25, because 2 are going to be single families, but it's not like 100. You're going to have a very secluded, very small, private duplex community in the middle of a neighborhood. And it's in a great location. And there's no duplexes like it in the whole zip code. It's really a lone product in the area. So this is the second phase. So if you see here, this is the tail end of the last plat map. You jump over an easement, and then here's the second part. So even then, it's 27 lots, but they're split. So it gets even smaller. It gets a little more condensed, right? And that's why a lot of investors like it, because it seems a little more home feel, right? And these are a lot bigger. I'll go on to the next slide. So I can share a little bit of data on the buildings. You're looking roughly a little under 1,400 square feet on each side, as far as like the duplex, as far as square footage, right? The other ones we were just talking about are 1,372 square feet. These are a little bigger, and they have the nicer elevation. Obviously, the area is prime. You're going to get a lot more white-collared workers, right? A lot of the folks that are in that area are in management. A lot of them are working in the north of San Antonio, or they're working in Austin, South Austin, or in New Braunfels. Yeah, definitely a quality pool of tenant for sure. Again, you're gonna get a 2-car garage. You're gonna get all those standard features: stainless steel appliances in the kitchen. You're gonna get a patio in the back. Sprinkler systems are included. Garage door openers are included. Like all this stuff, when we say turnkey, it's ready to go. It's even built with Texas property code built right into them. Now, real quick, I want to point out that the price on these single stories are $545K, but this is looking at it from a this is a 7-year ARM, and I believe the rate on this is 5%. So again, the incentive that you'll get from the builder is that you're going to get 2% towards your closing cost or rate buy down to help you achieve that rate, and the 1-year free property management as well.
So, and Josh, just to point this out, what's really important about this particular slide is you guys are going to notice, well, why is this rate 5%? This is assuming a 7-1 ARM. So that means for the first 7 years, the rate is fixed. Starting year 8 and moving on, the rate will become adjustable. So we wanted to give some individuals who are really trying to push the cash flow up just an opportunity. Again, this is with our preferred lender, Reed Hazard at CMG Financial. We have these 7-1 ARM rates, and honestly, depending on credit and potential down payments, that could even be in the high 4s. So each person's going to have kind of a different scenario, but I did want to point that out as to the folks that are seeing, you know, that major difference. And as you can see, that difference in rate does make a pretty significant impact on your cash flow. And I know we're talking a lot about cash flow, but one really important thing here is this bottom figure, which is return on investment, and that's really where that figure is factoring in cash flow as well as appreciation and some other factors. But these areas are really set to, in my opinion, perform well from an appreciation standpoint. Cash flow is great. It's kind of short-term, instant gratification. It helps pay for the property. But I think the long-term strategy and where investors are going to make the most money are buying in quality areas that are going to perform and grow year over year. And that's what we can, you know, we stand behind these products that, you know, we're advertising here tonight.
Yes. We all know cash flow, it's there, but really where you find your financial freedom down the line is in your appreciation, right? Because that's where you get the bigger bites, right? Over years. So this is a single story. I'm gonna go to the next slide so I can show you. This is what the 2-story looks like. Similar setup, similar colors, similar elevation, but these are a lot bigger. These are about 1,600 square feet each side, give or take. And what I love about these 2-story setups is that the master is downstairs. So you have the master bedroom downstairs, the 2 junior bedrooms are upstairs. Again, all the bells and whistles are included with this. There's no upgrades. It's just a standard feature that we do with this builder. Obviously, rents are higher in the area because it's a more polished product. You're looking at about $1,795, $1,850 rents, no problem in this area. I know that when I leased the first 4 buildings with the leasing team, we did $1,795, and we had places rented within 10 days, 10 to 12 days, average. Yeah, I mean the numbers are looking great with the ARM. One of the things I want to point out, to piggyback off of what Vince said, you can do the ARM. And if you're probably wondering like, hey, what happens if the rate changes in the next years, right? 5 years? CMG is allowing you to refinance, and they're covering a lot of the cost, if not the majority of the cost, to do the refi. So that's another incentive of doing the 7-year ARM, is that if you need to refi, CMG is going to take care of you.
Awesome. And guys, just as we're kind of closing in here, I do want to loop in, kind of a little explanation of property management. Just kind of high level, right? What does property management do? I think placing tenants and collecting rents are really important, but a lot of major things that we do is, we know the rental laws. We know the specific notices that folks need whenever things get sticky. I mean, ultimately, when tenants are paying on time, there's no maintenance and no vacancy, people think, why do I need property management? Why should I pay you 7% or 8%? And yeah, when things are moving along really smooth, I understand why folks would feel that way. But you pay property management for when things are not going smooth, when you have problems. And our job is to really know the rental laws, to send proper disclosures, ultimately to keep you out of court. We want to keep you safe, out of court, and honestly free up your time. As much as some situations may be really easy to deal with, it ultimately does take time and attention, and we want to make sure you can focus on other things that you'd rather do. Things that set us apart from a property management standpoint is we only make money when you make money. So there's no charge during vacancy. If it's a vacant unit, we're not charging you. We do hire outside vendors for all of our work, so there's no in-house maintenance. They may not seem like a big deal, but the folks that have ever worked with a property manager that has an in-house maintenance team, meaning that they're their own team or they have people that charge that can profit from repairs, will know that sometimes you'll notice there's quite a bit more repairs than what seem to be normal. And if it's a profit center for the property manager, it ultimately, in our eyes, that's a conflict of interest. So we outsource all of that work. We'll be able to provide invoices so you see what the cost is, and if it's out of line, we can always get more quotes. There's no comp or incentive for us to go with a certain person. And then ultimately, we have the best software tracking for all property management details, leases, and financials, and tax stuff at the end of the year. So those are all really important. For those of you that are looking for more information, this is just one of our events. I will be doing follow-up calls after the presentation to see if there's any more questions, or if you want to, have more dialogue with Josh or myself, or are looking to get moving on whether it's something we've shown you tonight or other properties. You can find a lot of the information though in previously recorded events on our website on the Learn tab under Education, Learn and then Education, and then you can find various videos and articles. You can find us also on social media and look at our Yelp reviews, LinkedIn, and see what other people are saying. We are proud to have people look at our Zillows and Google reviews and to know, the feedback. We have gone a little bit over, Josh. I did get a couple quick questions. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them, but I wanted to maybe get one or two that we can just get really quick. First one I don't mind taking, but someone asked, what kind of financing can I use for these purchases? So we kind of touched on this earlier. Ultimately, you can buy via cash, conventional financing, and if you are going to go conventional, we highly recommend using our preferred lender, as there's quite a bit of incentives, as well as just really low rates that we're able to obtain. But you can ultimately use any conventional lender as long as they're licensed in Texas. And then last but not least, we have a few individuals who have leveraged our private financing. So we, Marshall Reddick, do private financing specifically for these transactions. If for whatever reason you didn't qualify via conventional, we do have some unique products or ability to, or some specific loans for these that can be of interest, similar to what like basically an ARM loan that could be really interesting for the private folks. So yeah, happy to go into more detail with that for anybody who's interested. And then Josh, we had one more come in that I wanted to get to. Is how long does it typically take to lease these units?
So if you're looking at Jordan Creek, you're looking at anywhere between, I'll give you a range of 30 to 35 days. If you're looking anywhere in Sydney Cove, you're looking anywhere between 14 to 21 days. And I just say that conservatively, just to be safe. But
Got it. And last one is, do one stories or two stories rent out faster? I think you kind of touched on this earlier, but if you don't mind kind of touching it, get on it
yeah,
again.
yeah, I mean, it's just preference. We have a very diverse pool of tenants. Some of them, they don't want to deal with the stairs, and some of them don't care. The good thing is that both products are just as strong, so it really doesn't matter. I mean, sometimes we don't have 2 stories to rent, and they'll take the 1 story and vice versa. But I mean, either product is good. It rents for the same amount. There's no difference.
Got it. That's really helpful. Thanks for highlighting that. Well, Josh, again, I want to thank you for taking the time to be on tonight's presentation, and I want to thank all you folks for attending and being with us tonight. Again, I will be doing some follow-ups tomorrow, and if we don't talk tomorrow, beginning of next week, I'm more than happy to set up a call with Josh or myself to either talk about these properties or anything in Texas. We're more than happy, and it doesn't mean you have to be ready to buy tomorrow. We have folks that just want to get on more of a planning call, and we're happy to do that as well too. So we look forward to connecting with you guys. We appreciate your time, and thank you guys all so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.